Business Central Queries. This is an object type that was made available in the latter stages of NAV. It might be useful to walk through what has been made available via queries on the front end and on the back end. So on the front end, in version 23, we had this introduction of a thing called analysis mode, where you can turn this on pretty much any list view, and you can then use that to do some on-the-fly pivoting and totaling and filtering and so on. Fantastic new tool. What has that got to do with queries? Well, I'm glad you asked. So let's go to our development code, and there are a few new options available from this version, from the 23 version only. Looking first into the code, so this part is for the developers, functional people, close your eyes. Look first at your app.json and set the runtime to 12.0. because these features are only available from the current release. And then I have pre-built a couple of queries. The first is on purchase orders. This is something that I have long wanted to do, to be able to join two tables on the front end and be able to present a list view to a customer or to a user. The first thing you have to do is add into your query the command usage category, and this will then allow us to make this query directly searchable on the front end. So that means that this query can now render itself to a user, and then it can be used in lots of fun ways. So I have done a very simple query here. From my purchase header, I have done the number, the document number, order number, the posting date, the buy from vendor, and then I have added from the line table the number. This time, of course, this would be the item number, and then the quantity and the direct unit cost. Fantastic. Okay, and that is really all I have to do. And I have done a second query here on the customer table, so listing customers, and you'll notice a couple of other functions here, so about title and about text, new commands as well on query. So this will give us additional searchability in the tell me or the search bar. Also I have a usage category, and then I have added this thing called query category. I don't believe this function is yet active. We may have to wait for 23.1 or 23.2 to get this, but I have added it in the meantime. Similarly, a few fields from my customer, a join to my customer ledger entry table, and a couple of fields from there. So now I'm able to join two tables in a meaningful way and make them available to the front end for a user. They're available in two ways. So if we go to our Business Central screen, go back there, these I have already compiled. So if I go to my Helmi box and I search for customer transaction list, there it is. There's my data from my customer master table and from my transaction table. So that's how query works, and now this from the front end with a user can be filtered, and it can even be run in analysis mode. The last thing I want to show you is you can also make this available through an action on a page. So I have got a home page that I'm busy building up through a series of lessons, and on here I have added two new actions done in the normal way. For the transaction list, run object equals query, new command, and then the name of the query, run object query, purchase order query. And these two now will become accessible as menu options on my front page. And if I compile them, let's do that quickly. Here are my actions. There is the customer transaction list. Back. There is the purchase order list. Now you would think that it would be easy to do this. Analyze. Sadly not. It will not let me do this unless I have a very small subset of data. And since I'm running on Cronus and there is actually a really small subset of data here, it's really a little bit puzzling why it is struggling so much to do an analysis mode on this. Be that as it may, I'm sure that issue will be resolved in the next release or two of the application. But in the meantime, it is still pretty useful because I can, of course, from my combined view of my headers and lines here, I can click the export to Excel and I can continue to analyze it in Excel. So what can we do with queries that we could not do before? Well, this is about it. We still don't have access to much in the way of triggers. We only have a trigger on the whole object, which allows us to preset a filter. I cannot put triggers in on my columns or on my data items. And I can't even do a basic thing like this. Column, my cost, quantity, times direct unit cost. So I can't even do a calculation. I can only expose a column that already exists in the underlying tables. I cannot create my own columns from a calculation. I can create a query, I can join tables, I can expose them on the front end, but I cannot create any calculated figures, any calculated columns. That's it. I still think it's useful though. I think it's a good start. Well, a good start, it's a good improvement. The other thing which we cannot do at this point, we do not have the ability to run a query with a variable name via code, which means I cannot have a flexible way of presenting a different query from my actions. I could not, for example, give the customer a list of queries that I have pre-built and let them select one and run it. Not possible. I hope that that will become available in the future, and that's basically it. But I think it is still useful. Please play with it, use it. Perhaps what we could do is build some useful queries such as joins of tables and of header and line tables, and present those as a pre-made package to the front end that customers could make use of for doing pivots and analysis. Still probably a little bit premature, but there it is. Have fun. Ciao for now.